Yo, 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 what's goody? It's Bear in the building. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Kueen Talk. If you are new here, welcome. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this episode. You guys, today I wanted to do a recap of my wonderful trip in DC. I had such a great time. It was so good. A lot of takeaways. And I wanted to share more visuals of what I did, what went on, and all the experience and knowledge that I gained from this trip. So first, I didn't fly out of my hometown and I made that drive. I had to drop my dog off. So we took that road trip to drop Billy Boy off, and he took his own little vacation himself. And we had a nice little drive to Kansas City. And it was great. We got into the airport and it was pretty good. Shout out to Southwest, who has those free check bags, but not anymore. So the price went up. So that's so unfortunate. But yeah, it was a good trip. As soon as I get to DC and I'm riding downtown, I can see the pride flags and just the inclusiveness and support that you would want to see when entering a city. And also, as soon as I checked into the hotel, it was the same way. You see DC Black Pride. The hotel that I stayed in actually was the host of all of the events. And so when you walk in, you see the signs on the pillars. And so it was so good to just be seen and visible out there. Even on the hotel key card, you can see just like the Black DC Pride, like they were very welcoming and just wanted to show like you are included in here. Me and my partner had a joke, and it was like, if you're staying at this hotel and you didn't know it was Black DC Pride and you're not a fan, you're here for a rude awakening, because they did a very good job of showing the representation that it needed to be shown during that week. It just felt very welcoming. It was cool to see how inclusive DC was as soon as we touched down. And that's just how the trip started and how it ended, for sure. I think we got there at like 11 a.m. I got that early check-in. Otherwise, it would have been a long day. But we checked into the hotel and we started right off the bat. Like, we put our bags in there, showered, hit the streets, because there was so much that we wanted to do. We checked out the White House, and I want you to look at this picture, because in the White House, you can just see how gloomy it is sitting right above the White House. And it just goes to show, it's a good representation of just how gloomy it really is right now. Just like it, with the politics that are going on and stuff, with the queer community. But it was a good experience to go and see and get up close to the White House and be right there up front. This is me taking a picture in front of that lawn, and as you can see, they need to do some work with the lawn. But it was a good day to go out there, because there wasn't a lot of traffic out there. There wasn't a lot of people, and we got to get up and close. So, and seeing all of that, and walked around and got to get scoped. It was pretty heavy with cops around that area, whether it was bike cops or just cops in the car and just stationed around there. It was actually during the same time that the dinner was going on that they had for Trump's coin. So it made sense as to why it was so heavy with cops, but we had no idea the why until we seen it later on the news. I'm not sure if that's how it usually is during that area, but yeah, it makes sense if the president is staying there. But yeah, it was a good experience. But then once we left the White House, we went to the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. It was so cool to be in a place that represented so much history. I know, like I said before, just the gloominess of the politics and stuff that are going on right now, but just being in a place that represented, like I said, so much history. Martin Luther King Jr. stood there, and it was just, you remember the moments of like the history that you've been taught and told about what happened in the very same spot that I'm standing in, and just and protesting, and just everyone coming together in the community to fight for a greater cause. it was just powerful to be standing where a lot of great individuals stood to advocate for where we are today. Then we just sat there and we sat at the park and just took it all in, just all the history of what went on there. Once we did that, it was my partner and I's anniversary, so I wanted to take her out to a lovely dinner. So we went out to dinner, and something in DC that I have not seen before was a service fee on the ticket. And I want to say it was like a 20% service fee at this specific restaurant. And it specified and said it does not go to the waiter. It just goes to the maintenance of the building, I guess, to keep it going in the restaurant. And that was the first time I had ever seen something like that. And I was like, that was different, to give money back, damn near like an offering, or giving them a donation to the restaurant for them to stay open. Like a lot of people had that actually on the ticket of the service fee. But yeah, my Kansas self did not see that before. So yeah. Food was good though. And it was a good time. The food in DC in general was pretty good. We went to the White House, we went to the Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, and then we went we had dinner. Then I met up with my cousin and we went to the Unity Ball that was happening with DC Black Pride, and this was all in one day. And when I tell you guys, it was such a good way to end the first day, because I had never experienced a Unity Ball before. So it was my first time ever. And I've watched Pose before, but it was like real life Pose. It was an amazing moment. Like I said, I was cheesing the entire time, seeing all the beautiful queer people of color in the room, celebrating their identity and just embracing and not hiding themselves or dimming their light. It was just so cool. And it was awesome. The host was funny, hilarious. He did a very good job. And it was very inclusive too. They had interpreter there. The inclusiveness, it just showed in the room. It was just, I'm glad that I got to witness it in person instead of seeing it on TV. And it was cool because my cousin was like, although he lives in DC, he's lived in Atlanta, he had never experienced that either. It was so good to catch up with my cousin. It was so good to end that day with the Unity Ball, seeing that representation, all of the amazing people. And that was day one on Thursday. Friday, we get up and we are in the streets again. I'm representing every day. The importance of this trip was to get out there and network as much as possible, and I did that. I handed out so many business cards, and at first I was shy, talk to people, but then I got more comfortable with doing so, and just it was so good. Every time I handed someone a card, they were so excited about the mission and what we're doing here at Kueen Talk, and just felt like it was needed as well. So on Friday, we get up and we go to Howard University, and my partner is a Delta, so we had to do that. We also went to a cool bookstore that had everything was Black authors, everything was about Black culture in the bookstore itself. After that, on Friday, after we went to Howard University, we went to the African American Museum, the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and it was a great experience. I didn't take too many videos because I just was in the moment. But if you have not been to the museum, you should definitely go in there and get that experience. It started with different levels. The slave and the freedom era, the era of segregation, and then changing of America. So it starts in the basement, and you go up and progress and see where we are today. And it's a very heavy experience to see all of the history and all what we went through to get to where we are right now. But it was worth seeing. And then, oh man, it was. I didn't take a picture of this or a video of this, but I have to mention it because it happened and it was very heavy that day. So as I'm walking, me and my partner through the museum, like I said, you start in the basement and you progress up to the levels, and then once you get like halfway through the museum, there's a cafeteria area to where you can eat. Like, and so we're at the cafeteria in the line, and you see a group of white individuals with their freshly new Make America Great Again hats. And it was right after walking through all of that history and coming up and seeing that. It was not a good feeling. They didn't care. They weren't there to go through the museum. I did not see them walk the museum at all. And for them to just come in that space, and they thought they were doing like a sit-in or making a stand on something, of coming into that space and just showing that hatred. And that rage bait, like they wanted to get a reaction. And I couldn't, like, I'm standing there in line, and my partner, she's heated. She's talking heated, and I'm just quiet. Like, if I say something, I'm going to cry because of I just witnessed all of this heavy stuff that the Black culture went through. And then it's just, you don't get it. Like, it was just very hurtful to see. And I'm glad there was other white people there that were angry by it and made sure they said stuff out loud. They could feel that they weren't welcome with that gear on, but it was, why? Like, why? I don't know what the purpose of that was. And it was fresh. Like I said, it was fresh gear. You could tell they had literally just took them fucking hats out the box. And another thing of it, the kids were the only one wearing the merch. The parents weren't wearing it that were with them, just the kids. Like, they were very strategic of how they came in there and did what they did. So yeah, that was heavy. But the African American Museum, hopefully that's not your experience when you go in there. Otherwise, like, there's a lot of culture, a lot of history in there that you should definitely check out and be a witness of it. Of course, I had to get just like pictures of Bayard Rustin, because if you did not know, he was the right-hand man to Martin Luther King Jr. and involved in the peace movement. And so after the African American Museum, me and my partner, we cried and just were supportive for one another after we left there. And it was on to the next thing. It was a busy, busy weekend. So then we went to the pastel party. And when I tell you guys, the No Homo show was in the building, DJ XL and Boss Brit. It was so cool. It was a good time because it was the first time that I had ever been in a room that was full of queer women of color. Like, only queer women of color. I think there was one, maybe two gay men in the building, but most of the spots that I go to is full of queer men, but not women. So it was a party. It was a vibe. Multiple people, like, getting that representation, being in a space where these, like, they know so many of your intersectionalities, like, they get it. And so it was cool. Like they get what you go through on a daily basis. These people that you surround yourself with. I didn't have to be a chameleon. I was just myself, and I didn't have to mold into anybody or change who I was. And it was just a great experience. And if you have not experienced that space of people that you walk in and you identify with everybody in the room and you just see that representation around you, you should do it. Like I didn't know, like my inner childhood, like I needed that for myself. I needed that. And it made me like I need to be in more spaces like that for sure. At 33 years old, and that's the first time I've been in a space like that. Just not. It's when you say it out loud, it's like how, why have I not put myself in those spaces and made those connections? And I made a lot of connections, and I walked out of that club and I seen Gay Magazine. There's a video of it right here, and I was like, oh man, I should stop and do the interview. My partner was like, yeah, you need to. And I was like, I'd already had too many drinks. So I was like, it was 1:30 in the morning. Me and my partner don't stay out till 1:30 in the morning. Like that's not something we do. So my ride was there. And so I was like, yeah, this is just Friday night. Sure, I'm going to get to see them before I leave again. And I just trusted that. So I left. I walked out of there, went home, went to sleep. And then it was Saturday. So Saturday we woke up and there was a lot of great workshops on Saturday. The workshops that I went to were Beyond Religion. And then the host of this was great. He put in perspective of just loving yourself and make sure you give yourself affirmations and building your own relationship with faith and what that looks like. So that was really a good start to the Saturday. And then I did not know, this was just a surprise, but we went to a event with a panel that was full of transgender women and males, and it was so dope to get to be in that room with T.S. Madison and many others. T.S. Madison is an amazing person. She was very down to earth, approachable, and I gave her my card. Like I said, I'm there to network. I gave her my card and information, and we going to speak this into existence. We are going to have T.S. Madison on Kueen Talk here one day for sure. And we had Stasha on the panel as well and many more other guests. And it was a good conversation because it was really on like how we can build each other up. How do we leave room for everybody in the conversation? Because the conversation was, and I got video of it, but I wanted to respect the people in the room too, of just like not showing the footage of that. The topic was, they talked about a range of things, but the takeaways that I got were from that conversation is one, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Whether that's with your insurance, what you have, private versus government insurance, and also was just like, how can we unite and build one another up and hold space for each other in the conversations? So trans men felt like they were not a part of the conversation. They get left out of the conversation a lot. So how do we bring them into the conversation? And trans women felt like transgender men don't get involved in the conversation. So it was a good dynamic of, okay, let's hear one another out. Let's figure out how we can unite and bring everybody to the table and everyone speak up for each other, because that's what's needed during this time. Is we definitely need unity in the community. So yeah, that was a great conversation led by T.S. Madison, the moderator. I got to just witnessing that and hearing that was great, and I learned a lot just as what I could do to help. And it is could be just simply, if you're listening to this, and you're like, what can you do to help? Is being an ally and speaking up. So speaking up during moments, a lot of them said just like the comments that are on people's social media and stuff like that, just little ways of just sharing on your story, or just passing the information on, spreading the awareness of what's going on, is just ways that you can help the community during this time. So then we had the panels, and that was a good time on Saturday. After the panel, there was a poetry speaking as well. They were so good. Like, it was a poetry slam and a grand prize winner. And the spoken word was it was so great and powerful. And one of them talked about grandmama's cooking was what she say? It was like grandmama's cooking was the only way she knew how to love, but pass down generational trauma. And the poetry slam was just really good, and hearing the different poems of just like the culture, and just it was good. Their play on words was really good, and they all did so great. And then after the poetry, it was kind of late in the evening, and I was just tired. There was more events I could have went to, but I just rested and took it in for the night because your girl was tired. There was so many things. I'm networking, handing out my card, meeting so many people. My social meter just drained, and so I went home and I went to the hotel room, and after I did that, then next day was Sunday. And Sunday we went to a brunch, and I only went to this brunch because. So rewind. So after the panel, I see Gay Magazine again. Forrest just standing in the hotel lobby, and I'm like, okay, this is my moment. I go up to her, like, hey, this is Kueen Talk. Make sure you check it out. Yada yada yada. And then she was like, are you going to the brunch tomorrow? And I wasn't gonna go to the brunch because I was just gonna explore other events, but I was like, when she asked you to go to the brunch, you should go to the brunch. So I went to the brunch, gave her my information, and then yada, 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 boom. That's how that went. So I finally reconnected, and I'm glad that I approached Forrest. She was also someone who was very approachable, down to earth, and loved what Kueen Talk's doing for the culture. We were approved by Gay Magazine for sure. So that was really cool. And so it was Sunday. So ready for my brunch. Went to the brunch. Here we are. Last day in D.C. And the brunch was a dope. It was mimosas, endless mimosas. Can't go wrong with that. And we had a Beyonce lookalike. I had a lot of people swiping up on my story and be like, oh my gosh, is that Beyonce? Is that Beyonce? It was not Beyonce, but it was a Beyonce lookalike, and she did her damn thing. And then seeing Stasha perform. There's some footage of the drag show. It was awesome. A great time. They had the host was hilarious. The host did a great job. She made people laugh, and it was good. She made people give her 20s and not ones. A lot of representation. I'm glad I went to the brunch. So you guys remember I said, like, Friday night, I seen Gay Magazine come in at the very end of that time I was at the club, but I didn't approach him. But I'm at the brunch, and me and my partner have open seats at our table, and they come in there for us with their crew, comes in there. I was like, hey, can we sit with you guys? of course you can sit with us, Forrest. And so they were like, all right, we're going to do your interview today. Y'all, I had the bubble guts as soon as she said that. I got the bubble guts because I love doing this. I love the mission that I'm on, but I still get nervous at times, like being on the spot. Usually I'm on the other side of things, asking the questions. So this time she's like, I want to ask you the questions. So that was cool. Like being in that moment, shooting my shot and networking, being out there. I did my interview with Gay Magazine. Here it is right here. And maybe you'll see it on their page. Who knows? If they edit it good enough, I'll be on there. But that was just an awesome moment. I just thank Forrest with Gay Magazine of giving me that opportunity and just being so welcoming. So after the drag show, I was leaving the drag show and this older woman comes up to me. She's like, what are you guys doing after this? And I was like, I don't know. Getting ready to pack my bags. I got to go home and I'm sad about it. And she was like, you should come to the garden. It was a spot called the Garden. I was like, okay, what's there? And she's like, oh, just ask my partner. I was like, okay, this woman is 60 plus. And so I go over to her partner and I'm like, hey, what are you guys about to do? And she was like, oh, we're going to go. And she told me the Garden. And she was like, just RSVP right here. So I did. And I go there. Y'all, this spot they took it back. Like all the music was old school music. The demographic was 50 plus, all queer women of color. And I was just like, what? Like, it was dope. Like, I was like, all of you have just like where you are today, what you couldn't do. Like, it was just so cool to be in that moment and see these women just living their lives freely, not caring about a care in the world and just loving one another when just like there was a time that they couldn't do that. And so it was just so cool to see. And I was connecting with the woman when I got there, the one that invited me to the spot, and I was giving her my card and she was like, okay. And she asked her partner, she was like, hey baby, do you have the pen and paper? She pulled a notebook out of her bag, wrote down her name, her address, and her number, and was like, okay, here you go. If you want to send us a Christmas card, go ahead and do so. I was just like, the generation that they're in, it was like they had a cell phone. You could have gave me your number and your phone. We could have just text exchange right there. But the fact that she pulled out the notepad and gave me it on a piece of paper, I was just cheesing. Like, I was just so happy to be in that moment and witness that all of these women of color in this space, old school music, got my partner with me. She's like, what did we just enter right now? And it was so dope. It was such a good vibe. I didn't want to even bring my phone out. Nobody had a phone out. They were just enjoying the moment. And yeah, it was cool. It was cool. She was like, I'm going to have to get my granddaughter to come over and figure out how to work the podcast because she wanted to be on the podcast. I'm like, please do. So hopefully you guys see them on the podcast here in the future. And when they come, I'll make sure to let you know which guest it is. After we left that place, as soon as we were leaving, it got popping. We got there right when it started and we had to leave and go to dinner again with my cousin and his partner and get ready to catch our flight that was at 3:30 that morning, which was unfortunate. But we went dinner with my cousin one last time and enjoyed food. The takeaways from this trip was what I'm doing with Kueen Talk was validated. Like, every time I told someone, handed out a card, they were just excited about what this podcast is doing and what it does and how it shows the representation. I was reminded that it is okay that it is just for queer people of color, and just stay on the mission, keep reaching these people and individuals and continue to network. because other people want to see it too. This DC Black Pride, there was people, we were from Dallas, Texas, Chicago, New York. Like, it was, everyone came there to get that representation of Black pride. Um, and they all have been in the same experience as me, as a lot of times they enter spaces and it's not, they don't see the representation. Um, and you could just tell, just like everyone was themselves during that time. I was asking everybody, are you here for DC Black Pride? Are you here for DC Black Pride? And there was one individual, I'm in the elevator, and I asked him, and I was like, are you here for DC Black Pride? He was like, no, but kinda. And I was like, okay. And I was like, are you queer? And he was like, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. So I just left it at that, and I just like went to my room, and I had to go back out to get my partner something, and I see the guy just roaming around like in the hall, like where we stopped talking. And he was like, hey, can I get a card for your podcast? And I was like, of course. So I give him a card, and he was like, I would love if I could come out and be myself. And he was like, if I came out to my parents, my dad always said that he would shoot me in the head. And I just paused, and I said, I'm so sorry that your parents are not supportive of your identity and who you are. And he said, don't be sorry. I'm just glad to experience a space like this. And I was like, it is good. Like, there is a community here. There is a lot of, I do this because I want to reach not only people like his parents, to show like there's nothing wrong with your child. He is who he is. He's not going to change like his character because of who he loves. And I do this for people like him who want to see that representation back when he's not in DC with everyone that's there and getting that love and community, to show there are people like us out here. There are other stories out there, and maybe he can find community within his hometown or wherever he is to get that. But that was just so heavy for me to hear, that his parents actually said that to him. And who would even come out if your parents said that, right? Like, why would you feel even comfortable to do so? And it's important, if you're a parent listening to this, those conversations of just having an affirmative household, of not a toxic household that is just so black and white, and this, it needs to be this man and woman, and you're too girly, or you're not masculine enough, or this, and you can't wear pink, and you can't wear blue, you can't wear pants, you need to wear a dress. You are literally damaging your child and their curiosity, their creativity. You're literally just nailing it each time. You're hitting it. You're beating them down each time you say something like that. It's just a beat down, and y'all need to be mindful. We're just human who love differently, but we're human. And the representation that was shown, I'm glad he was there, and experienced that for himself, and seeing that community and what community can do for someone who is not okay with being out right now. And if you're listening to this and you're not okay with being out right now, that's okay. I know that it's hard sometimes. It's hard because of the people around you. But I encourage you to find a space a community that you can just be yourself, live freely, even if it's just for a little bit. Um, Even if it's just for a little bit, and you gotta go home and uh, it was a good experience, and I I will be back, DC Black Pride. I will be back. I met a lot of great people. I'm networked, handed out my cards, and a lot of you guys followed me. A lot of you guys are probably listening to this podcast now because you guys subscribe. So I just thank everyone that was there at DC Black Pride. The people that put that on were amazing. And yeah, it was a good time. And hopefully, you guys, like I said earlier, get to experience that for yourself. If you're a queer person of color, I encourage you to go to a Black Pride. It is liberating for sure. And as soon as I got home, driving home, as soon as I landed, it's raining, thunderstorm on that ride back home, gloomy, and just like we're back. Um, and I passed out. Me and my Bentley boy, we passed out. He was happy to see me again, and it was good to be home, but I already miss it. I already miss it. I go into places and it's the complete opposite of what it was back when I was in DC. And I'm quickly reminded again as to why I started Kueen Talk in the first place. So, thank you guys for tuning in, listening to my recap of Washington, D.C. If you've been to Washington, D.C., what was your favorite thing? What did you experience? If you've been to a Black DC Pride, what was your takeaways on that experience for you? And make sure you guys go to queentalk.com, check out all the amazing merch that we have, and make sure you guys catch me at ICT Big Gay Market on June 8th. I will be there selling new merch. So make sure you guys come and get something. And if you can't make it there, like I said, go to queentalk.com, get you some merch, buy some things, and yeah, support the movement that is definitely needed. And as always, family, friends, strangers, love and be nice.